Um, Welcome, everyone. It was very important that we talked about the source of energy. Now, we all know very well that the source of energy is food. And the food is mainly, I talked about yesterday, was glucose. So you wonder, you say, wait a minute, we also eat protein, we also eat fat. What about that? Don't they give any energy? Of course they do. But the most efficient way in which the cell produces in a quick way is the glucose, because the cycle is a glucose cycle. However, if the protein was to come, protein is a little bit more complex. In the terms of the formula, it has to be broken down a little bit. It has to be broken down. It has to be like amino acid and things like that, smaller particles. And these smaller particles are then used. And they are in the same cycle. That same cycle, there's areas where the protein can, amino acid can plug in. But the fat also is called beta oxidation. And its name is that. But the fatty acid, for example, that gets plugged in somewhere. The same cycle, they use the same cycle. It's only one cycle. But there are more other ways to approach that cycle. You are only able to do that until you do. For example, you go to the bank and you need some money. If it's cash, no problem. But supposing it was in a bond or you had a little bit of, CD or something, you're going to break it down. The more complex the investment, the less, more time it will take for you to. So that's the reason why this structure is created, and the energy therefore can be created through all this. So I just want to mention that. Now let's come to the food. It's interesting part, and I'm going to mention some of this in the way that will be making sense. We need clean energy. How many of you have, just raise your hand, how many of you have now heard about clean energy? We need clean energy. Raise your hand if you've heard that. The cleaner energy. Because why? Because you need the good source of energy. Now, for example, you take oil, or you take coal. It's not as clean. When you go to solar energy, when you go to other types of hydro power, it becomes, or wind, becomes cleaner. See, when you go to these other things, they get cleaner energy. Isn't that true? Same thing happens in our body. What are you eating? If you're eating coal, you're going to have not a clean energy. So therefore, it makes very much sense that what we eat is important. If we eat very, processed food, a lot of chemicals in it, a lot of other stuff, that, what happens there? Fried stuff, processed food, complex stuff. What happens? It's not a clean energy, because the source that we are giving to produce the energy is not good. The mitochondria has to work harder to clean it up. The whole body has to work harder. Digestive system has to work harder. Immune system has to work harder. Everybody has to work harder to try to clean it up for us, so that they can provide a clean energy. So it makes sense that we really need to understand what to take, and therefore it's obvious. I mean, this just explains to you in a way that will be a little different than what we have used to. But let me see something that I have here in my notes that I'm going to check that it is all there. So clean energy is like, for example, in the body, what, as I said, processed food is one. The second thing is clean up. Like when you drive a car, for example, in a fuel. Have you heard of fuel cleaners or cleaning? Fuel. What do you call additives? Have you heard of fuel additives, which gives you more mileage? If you add that, the gasoline will work better. It's the same thing. You use high octane gas versus leaded gas. Lead is an impurity, so it's not a clean energy. So you have a problem. Same thing now. It's interesting that I was looking up something that I just came up with the list. So just so that you will be surprised, I didn't know myself until I found out what that fuel additive means. Fuel additive has so many things in the gasoline. Okay, fuel additive, detergents, corrosion inhibitors, Then cleaning and maintenance, there is detergents, then corrosion inhibitors, then fuel system cleaners, and friction modifiers, stabilizers, octane performance enhancers, cold flow improvers, anti-foaming agents, antioxidants. When I was looking at it, I said, oh my goodness. I didn't know. I just put the fuel additive and think, okay, I'm going to get better gas mileage. But I didn't know so many things. Same thing happens in our body. We need vitamins. All the way, with the riboflavin, vitamin B1, 2, all that, magnesium, iron, all these things are important. As you know, vitamin C for the stress. These are all components that are additives, that are, components of this cleaning up system, that you need all of that. And so when we talk about food, we have to supply the clean food, we have to change that. So many times if you eat complex stuff, for example, proteins, if person is, I'm not for or against vegetarian and non-vegetarian, but understand that plant cells, some of the plant cells are easier to digest. Animal cells are difficult because they're protein, and when they breaking down takes time. It's a little bit extra effort for the body. And so people go to vegan and people go to other diets for that reason. Go on a little bit fresher diet, go on a fresh fruit and fruits and all that. So I'm not going to go into diet. This is not the idea, but the idea is to see how we change that. So that's change the input part of it. And the next part now we're going to talk about is what we really want to do is the exercise part of it. How do you use it? And so today I'm going to focus a little bit on the exercise part of it, because what we have seen is that mitochondria this is called bio regeneration, or, what is it called? Biogenesis. Biogenesis is the name. Biogenesis means mitochondria can be created. New mitochondria can come, and the mitochondria health has to be maintained. And the health is important. And if you can make them sick by adding all the stuff that you do, not having proper rest, not having proper sleep, all these things are important. If you don't do any of this, sleep is when the restoration cycle happens. We'll do sleep at some other time. So I recognize that how sleep really cleans up the body in the different phases, the 2-3 phases of sleep. And one cleans up the emotions, one phase cleans up the emotions, and one thoughts, the other one gets the immunity. So all types of cleanup mechanisms are present in our body during the sleep. So now let's go to the exercise. So when you move, anything that is working gets the food. Principle of life. If you don't work, you don't get anything. If you sit lazy, the body does not give you extra blood. So understand that if we work some organ more, like brain, if you don't use the brain, you get lazy. If you don't use the heart also, all the organs that we're talking about, you have to use them. And the more you use them, the more the mitochondria will respond also. You say, oh my goodness, this guy needs more energy here. Let me go there and these mitochondria can increase in number per cell or activity. Their activity starts more. It's obviously you're putting the engine higher. And for example, in a rheostat is the thermoregulation in our what do you call it, in our home. When it's too cold, you raise it up, right? 65, 70, whatever the number is for you. You raise it up. So what happens? Your system works harder because that needs to 70. The same thing happens in our body. So when we start, so let's all get up. And I'll share with you some exercises. You can stop the recording at this point and we'll go to the next recording.